When it comes to gut health, there are a lot of things that you really have to keep in mind. There are dietary choices. There are, as I talk about all the time, what's in what you eat. But part of the challenge is if you've grown up and lived a life used to eating a certain way, making changes to support a newly identified gut health issue can be a huge challenge. That's why I'm excited to talk with my colleague and friend today, Alison Marras, and we are going to dive into the topic of all things food and gut health. But before we do that, I would like to tell you just a little bit about her. Alison is a nutritional therapy practitioner. She's also a cookbook author. Her book is the Paleo Gut Healing Cookbook, and she also blogs over at foodbymars.com. Alison has experienced firsthand the healing power of food, using it to manage Hashimoto's thyroiditis and PCOS. She believes that your healing journey with real food can be a stress-free lifestyle filled with joy and flavor, and her content is here to help. You can follow Alison for paleo and AIP-friendly recipes, meal plans, and more. Alison, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Yeah. And I love that, we obviously have a lot in common. I also had autoimmune issues, although for me, my primary was ulcerative colitis. And the interesting thing, I'm sure you found this with both Hashimoto's and PCOS. I certainly found it with ulcerative colitis. I had a lot of different doctors that I was working with, and yet nobody talked to me about food.
Of course. What would putting something in your body 3 times a day have to do with your health?
Exactly. I know. So can you tell us just a little bit about your health journey?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I would say, like so many of us, I grew up on the standard American diet, fast food and takeout and sugar and all the things, right? Cereals. And I would say I always struggled with my health. I was always sort of like the kid that was sick a lot, with upper respiratory infection, sinus infection, just like constantly strep throat. Like I just remember I was always sick. And then when I was of age, my period came and everything, and just kind of growing through that, I was always struggling with that. I had what's called dysmenorrhea. It's just a very painful period. And so 2 days out of the month, every month I would miss school or eventually work and college, like everything. So I was always struggling with something, but similar to probably what a lot of people heal, is like, well, that's just the cards you were dealt, and this is what it is. And so, or these are your genes and this is what's in the family. And so I just put up with it. I was taking medicine or whatever. I was on the birth control pill for a really long time to manage some of that. What I then figured out was like PCOS and certain issues like that. And when I got off the pill in my late 20s, my body went crazy. Like it just went nuts. I was newly married. And so I was like, well, I've been on this for a decade. I should probably get off. And so I got off, and my hair started falling out in clumps. My weight was fluctuating. My digestion had gotten even worse. My digestion was always not great. I just didn't know better. I thought that was normal. Again, we just kind of normalize or deny or just feel like, well, I don't know, I guess, or we just don't have any other answers, no alternatives. So it's like, I don't know, this is what life is. Doesn't everyone go through this? I was just burning out at work, especially. I was working in New York City, a really stressful job for a long time. And I was just hustle, go, work hard, play hard, right? All the things. So it just kind of all came to a head. And it took me at least 3 years to go through this journey of figuring out what is wrong. Like this, I knew, I was like, okay, the symptoms can't get much louder at this point. I'm going bald. Like I can't look in the mirror and even see myself anymore. And it was just to the point where I was like, something is wrong and I've got to figure it out. And sort of in the middle of that, I was dealing with, like, my grandfather had pancreatic cancer, and I grew up seeing my mom with autoimmune issues and migraine and chronic issues. And finally I was like, you know what? I'm not getting the answers I need from conventional medicine, from doctors, from anybody. There has got to be a better way. And that's when I went back to school for health coaching, to be a nutritional therapy practitioner. All of that kind of happened. And that's what helped me learn more, like, oh, there's other options. I don't need to just sit here and deal with any of this. And so I finally got diagnosed with Hashimoto's, and, lots of gut issues, SIBO and parasites and all the things. So I went down that new path. And that's really what led me into all of this, little by little, changing my food, changing my lifestyle. And that's what helped me get out of it a bit,
Well, and, I think one of the things that's so wonderful about the path that you took is it led to you actually developing a passion to help other people with their food as well. Because you and I both know there are so many myths in our American food system. The one that drives me nuts, of course, is, oh, it doesn't really matter. Like, just take this pill, do this therapy, do whatever. And yes, those things can be helpful for helping to calm symptoms so that you feel better and you're, not struggling so much. But at a certain point, you still need to nourish the body. Absolutely. And if you're not learning how to do that, and then once you learn that maybe that's part of the issue, learning how to do that is really challenging.
Absolutely. I always say more information does not equal more support. And that's what I find that, like, especially with my audience, just being sort of go, 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 give me the checklist and I'll do it. But then it gets to a point where they've gotten so many checklists and so many different elimination diets and so many different things that it's like, they're up to here. They don't know what to do anymore. Yeah. And something that I think about, that I certainly went through, I'm sure you went through, just with this lifestyle, it comes some ups and downs as you're transitioning and as you're trying to figure stuff out and getting a little bit more in tune with your body. But something I'll often say to my clients and everything is, essentially you grow up with food being a different role. Food is comfort, it's celebration, right? It's, it's social, it's bringing people together. It's whatever your culture has been, that, your parents are cooking certain meals for certain occasions, all these things, has all these emotions tied to it though. And we're marketed food as kids, sugar, and look at these animals, stuffed animals and all, all these things. And it just lights up all these reward centers. And it's like, then all of a sudden you grow up, you have a chronic illness. You have food sensitivities, you have allergies, you have gut issues. And then you hear food is medicine now. And it's like, whoa, now it's another thing. And so you're trying to kind of decouple or detangle all these things of like all the roles that we give food. And it's hard to, I think, make sense of that when now we're gripping on like, oh, now food has to heal me. And I just start to see, in our community that people start to maybe overcorrect a little bit with diet, and they just go so hard, and they're not understanding, why is this such a stress for me? And so just like you, it's like, I love helping it not be stressful anymore. I love helping it be easy, because that's when we can really transition into this lifestyle and feel good. And it's like, yeah, this is the way I eat. Big deal.
And absolutely. And one of the other things is, I will point out that we are supposed to be enjoying our food. It's supposed to be a communal time if we have the opportunity to be with others. It's supposed to be nourishing on a lot of different levels. Absolutely. And one of the things that's so challenging, occasionally I will get a client who will come to me who is either orthorexic or on the verge of orthorexia, where if they have not prepared it and it is not within this tiny little box that becomes just so overwhelming, they can't do it. And they're creating so much stress for themselves that puts their body in a high vibration state that is not a healing vibration.
Absolutely.
And they're not able to move forward. I think one of the other things, and so I'm sure you do this the same, because I've looked at your website and everything else, like, we start by adding things. We don't take away anything in the beginning, except the most egregious offenders, but it's more about, let's add things, like, let's find the things that we like, and then we can start weaning out all the other stuff.
Absolutely. Because so much of the problem is, yes, we're eating things that are harming us, but we're also, because we're spending so much time eating that, we're not eating the things that would be giving us the nutrients, the nutrient density, right? So I love when you talk about that, and just like you said, like, what's actually in our food that's going to help or hurt us. And that's what's so critical, I find. Yeah.
And also teaching people to mix up. One of the things I tell people is to think outside the, in brackets, cereal box, because we get so accustomed to, oh, this meal has to happen at this time and has to be these foods. and most of which are not good for us. And so, for example, one of the things that I love, you have a recipe for a parsnip porridge, I believe it is, on your blog. Like, and that's breakfast. And, you know, a lot of people are probably like, what's a parsnip? You know, it starts there. And then they find
it's
out
a white carrot. It looks like
a white carrot.
That's what I tell my husband when I tell him to go get them for me at the grocery store.
That's so funny. Well, the other thing though, is to me, they have a much sweeter, milder flavor. Like they're so delicious.
And I've got to say, I think my favorite way to eat them is in that puree. Like there's just something so cozy about it.
Yeah.
It's good.
And the interesting thing though, is a lot of people are like, vegetables for breakfast? And the answer is, yeah, because mealtime isn't just supposed to be certain foods. It's more about what does your body need? How can you support yourself?
Right? Like, how are you building your energy for the day? That's what I always like to think of, especially with breakfast, because that's where we can affect so much change. I'm sure you see that with clients when you get them off like pastries or sugar laden smoothies in the morning. And you just say like, hey, this is something that I feel like is some people can either really get through it and be like, wow, this is awesome, this just changed my life. Or some people it's like really pulling teeth to get them to kind of change their breakfast. But that is one of the best shifts that you can make, is when you are looking at, just like you said, like, wait, what does my body actually need? Not what does General Mills say that breakfast has to look like since I was a kid. And so I'm stuck there. Yeah.
And then the other thing, of course, is helping them find substitutions for the things that they already do. You know, you and I have talked about this before, but part of the challenge is if you're being asked to change your diet because that's what your bio-individual body needs you to do for whatever's going on, and you have 20, 30 or more years eating a certain way, learning how to make that mind shift is a little bit challenging. So adding something like tiger nut milk or, you know, gluten-free flours, you know, nut flours or coconut flour, those kinds of things, learning how to work with those can be really challenging. And so I love that a lot of the work that you do is about educating people how to step into the kitchen and make the, you know, through your cookbook and your programs and that sort of thing. That's a really wonderful change for them because, well, first of all, we don't have home ec in school anymore. Like I'm old enough that I did go through home ec. And here's the really weird thing. So when I went through home ec, we actually, like, we were taught knife skills. And we were taught how to work with real food ingredients.
That's awesome.
By the time my kids got to middle school and home ec, it was like, here's this whack and bake can, and we're going to make pigs in a blanket.
That, I was just going to say, I vividly remember making Bisquick flour biscuits for home ec. That's all I can remember, honestly.
Yeah.
Like,
I know it was prepared. I remember my kids basically learning how to make boxed food. And I wasn't the ingredient guru at that point. So I didn't know any better, you know, and it's really challenging. So we go from that exposure to what food means. And then all of a sudden being told, oh, you have a gut health issue, some sort of, you know, digestive ailment that requires you to eat differently. And then, so where do you start with someone? How do you help them begin that process of making those changes?
Yeah, I would say so similar to what you led with is the crowding out, you know, way of going about it, where I just find that, especially with our primal brains, that back of the brain that's always looking out for our safety, and that's number one, is that when we see these elimination diet lists, or like you kind of said, the top offenders that you'd want to eliminate first, we can sometimes get very stuck there and obsessive about, I can't have this, I can't have that. And look to immediately replace, like, okay, well then I need gluten-free bread and I need gluten-free crackers and I need gluten-free pretzels. And it's like, well, that's still a processed thing though. So it's like, let's just consider, you know, the things that we want to crowd in your plates with, so that you don't actually have a lot of room for some of the processed stuff. There's some great paleo friendly things like breads, and that's all whole foods, minimal ingredients. There's some great stuff out there, but I find that we still treat it the same, where it's like, I'm bored or emotional, so I'm gonna just pound this box of paleo crackers now, and they're not regular. And it's like, okay, well, it's still a lot of nuts, and that's not gonna be great for your digestion, you know? So I tend to see that as sort of a pitfall. So exactly what you said and exactly the way you work is to just say, let's focus on the nutrient density of the foods that we want to include more of. So you just don't have a lot of time, space, or maybe even the cash for, the other stuff, the more boxed foods. And then you can use that maybe a little bit more, just more sparingly, just like a little bit more realistically. That's not maybe your new go-to anymore. And then second, yeah, absolutely. Through my blog with all my recipes in the cookbook and all that stuff is something that I really like to think about are the foods I miss. I have a lot of sort of copycat types of recipes that I just redid with more whole foods and in more of a paleo-ish way. So for people that are gluten-free, dairy-free, grain-free, whatever it is, you can really enjoy some of this stuff. And so one of my ultimate tests is when, like, my husband, who doesn't have to eat, well, he doesn't think he has to eat a certain way, but he normally eats my way because that's most of our food. When he likes something that I've remade, like a baked ziti kind of thing, or, I'm trying to think of like some of my recipes. He happens to be Greek. And so I have like a paleo moussaka and a paleo like Greek baked ziti. And so when he liked those and there was zero feta cheese in them, like just no noodles, no any of that. And he was like, oh, that's pretty good. I'm like, win, like I did it.
I know, that's it. There you go.
And so that's what's really nice. And so when I see people too, just like recreating the recipes and commenting like, oh my God, this reminds me of what my family always made. I feel so good that I can eat it again. I love that because, like you said, food is supposed to nourish us on so many levels. And when we start to miss on our favorites that we grew up with or something that we're really craving, we're like, oh my God, I just want to have that, but I don't want to pay for it with all the consequences. I like to be cheeky and find ways to, recreate it. So that's something that I love to do with recipes so that it's not just like another salad, another whatever, just kind of like the same old stuff. I like to really switch it up, and with that, switch up the ingredients even. So like using things like parsnips that I never ate growing up. I didn't know what that was. Like, I didn't know what a squash even was. It was just potatoes, rice, meat, and broccoli. Like those are the things I can think of that I knew of for vegetables. So, expanding our palate a little bit more, realizing that it's not that we just take away, and all we have is like a chicken salad that we can eat. It really is that you've been missing out on so much. You don't realize you've had tunnel vision. You don't realize it yet. So if you can go the more sort of abundant, oh, I get to have all these new things now and play there, grocery shop from that list.
Yeah.
You can find some really cool stuff. Things that you never realized you would like. So that's something I really enjoy doing. And I'm sure you do too, when someone's like, I had a client once, never had salmon. They're like, I'm scared. I don't understand how to cook it. I don't want to mess it up. And now she eats salmon like she's like, I'm obsessed. I can't believe I ever lived without this. And it's like, that's crucial, essential fatty acids right there, right? That now we're getting into her body that she doesn't have to worry about now. So much of the sort of in the positive, in the crowding out, let's find some really good recipes that will taste just like the real thing. And you don't have to feel bad after eating it.
Sure. And the other thing that I love about that is, when I'm working with someone and we're adding in all these other things, or even when I get to take them to the grocery store, which now we're finally getting to the point where we can start doing that again.
Yes, good.
And pointing things out to them, different things that they may not have ever eaten before, like a fennel or an endive or star fruit or these other things. And to be able to share that, this is good, not only because these are whole foods, like single food ingredients that we can do different things with, but we're broadening the nutrient variety in your diet, which we're supposed to be doing anyway. And as you know, as humans, we tend to like the same 20 foods.
Exactly.
We're just
habits of creature.
Yeah. And so if we take the time to look at what's going on, especially if we're dealing with some sort of autoimmune health disorder, and everybody needs to be mindful about what they're eating. And I believe that everybody should eat less processed foods. For sure. However, for those people who don't necessarily have some sort of a health challenge or a diagnosis that requires them to be more mindful about it, they tend to eat on autopilot, which is unfortunate. That's not everybody, but there are a significant number of people out there who do that. And so when people begin to learn that they need to make a different change, all of a sudden it's about, well, really, what do you do with that? And so, for example, I love giving recipes. I also love just encouraging them to try it, see what you come up with. Like, let's taste it. Let's figure it out. How does it taste to you?
Love that.
And do you like it?
I like that too, because you're getting them more entrenched in this process, that it's not even just like, yeah, absolutely, here's a recipe, but I love encouraging, like, hey, have a good spice cabinet and have fun with the spices on it. Like, roast it, figure it out. Like, something good is going to come out of it. I don't think I've ever met a roasted vegetable I didn't like. Little things like that. So I love that you do that, because you're giving people also the confidence to know, hey, if I just pick something up randomly at a farmer's market that's seasonal that I've never had before, I feel pretty confident I'll figure it out. That's great.
Well, and the other thing that I like is, one of the things that's hard too for people when they begin to shift how they're eating, whether it's, because they have some sort of a diagnosis, or they've all of a sudden realized that I need to eat better. Like, if I want to be healthier, I need to eat better. And all of a sudden they're trying to use all these things. You're like, I feel lost in the kitchen.
Yes.
Like, it says this takes 30 minutes. It took me 2 hours. What am I doing? And so one of the things that I love is you actually have a 20-minute meal prep system that people can sign up for, and it helps them learn how to do that. And quite frankly, even though you gear it towards the AIP paleo community, it's really for anybody.
It's totally for anybody. Yeah. Because again, it's whole foods we're talking about here. So anyone can benefit from that. You're getting your protein, you're getting your veggies, and that's like the critical pieces right there. And to your point, it's like, sometimes we can get excited in the beginning, like, okay, food is medicine. I'm going to go food shopping. I'm going to try this thing. And that's so great and so fun. But absolutely, if you are not used to cooking so much, if your kitchen is not even set up, I'm sure you've probably been in people's kitchens where you're like, oh, Jesus, you're never going to be able to cook in here, because the person was used to takeout more often, and they didn't think through, like, what would be a smart place for me to put my spices, for me to put my tools, so that I can move through the kitchen effortlessly. Because I'll see that a lot too, where to your point, it's like, it said a 30-minute recipe, it's taking me 2 hours. I used to go through that in the beginning too, where I would find these different recipes. And I'm like, dude, this is taking forever. But you have to practice and learn those little tips and tricks. Like, oh, I can make maybe my kitchen a little more efficient. Oh, I can maybe grocery shop a little more efficiently. And then suddenly things start to click. You're doing it more. And before you know it, oh yeah, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, boom, bang, like, let's figure this out. And that's why, I provided that resource, because I tend to hear that as a very common complaint in the beginning of like, this takes so long. I don't have time for it. I'm cooking for other people in my house who don't eat like me. That's a big one I get, especially for parents. And it's an issue where they're not going to stay compliant. There's so many now challenges that have stacked up. They're like, forget this. I'm ordering pizza. Like, whatever, I'll take the pill. Or, to your point, it's like, take the pill, but nourish yourself too, So I hope that helps. It's certainly the way that I meal prep. I don't spend hours in the kitchen every week or every night. Not at all. I work. You work. Like, we're not just sitting here cooking all day long as much as we'd love to be. We want to make it more efficient and get it done.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Alison, this has been so much fun chatting with you. I have absolutely had a great time, and you've shared so much wonderful information with us. As I mentioned, I know you have your meal prep plan. You also have your cookbook. What's the best way for people to get in touch with you to learn about those and learn more about you?
Yeah. I mean, I'm on Instagram a lot, so feel free to DM me there. I'm at Food by Mars everywhere. And of course, my website, that's where all my, you can sign up for my email and keep up with recipes and posts and things like that.
That sounds great. Well, I'll be sure to put the link down below. So
Awesome.
Folks, make sure you check that out. Don't forget to hit subscribe, click the bell for notifications of when I have more amazing guests like Alison. Alison, thank you so much for being here today. And folks, thanks for watching. Take care.
Thank you.